Welcome to the Laughs in the Dark podcast. Spooky you.
Welcome back to Laughs in the Dark. This is a story that we started already, so go check out parts 1 and 2 of My Dad Finally Told Me What Happened That Day by user nazisharks on r/nosleep. So, they're long ones, so don't jump into this one without watching that one.
You need to watch the other one to get the context.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So last we left off, this is just the worst. And that's really, we're just going to jump in from that.
In every way possible.
Yeah.
Very infuriating.
Here we fucking go with this guy. I just want to thank everyone again for your interest in my personal journey and for sharing your views. I might have walked away from it by now if it weren't for your support. Because the more I learn, the less I seem to understand. But I did learn more from my dad over Thanksgiving.
That's because none of y'all got no fucking comprehension skills. No pattern recognition skills.
Yeah, they learn a lot.
No written flag alarms.
They just don't have a connecting ability. They have all the material.
They just can't put it together.
No. Yeah. No, it's like they have every puzzle piece and they spread it out on the ground and they said, looks beautiful.
Yeah. I can't find any pieces that go together.
Yeah. Are they supposed to go together? I don't think so. I don't think they're supposed to.
They're supposed to lay on the ground.
Yeah, it's so that you could see each of their beautiful individual shapes, or you can put them together. But I did learn more from my dad over Thanksgiving. I had to mull it over for a few days. Now that I have, I feel comfortable sharing it. When I first unloaded the bottles of gin. Oh, yeah. I forgot he was going to get his dad.
Oh, yeah.
Gin.
Because gin makes him...
It makes him talk about his lots of bullshit, yeah. When I first unloaded the bottles of gin, Dad looked at me like I was setting a trap. In a way, I guess I was. Not in a way. 100% you're setting a trap.
You were definitely setting a trap, absolutely.
There's no other way to look at it. Again, this is like, well, in a way, huh? Kinda. I guess. I can't stand these people. I wonder if he knew what I was up to. I know at least he hadn't talked to Mom. They still hate each other. But Dad's a man's man and doesn't turn down a drink.
Period.
I kept waiting for the opportunity to start asking questions, but it never felt right. Turns out, I didn't have to. Dad asked me if Uncle Matt talked. I told him he had.
He did.
I told him he had, but that there was a lot that didn't make sense to me. Get used to it, was his answer. It'll work.
Sir, you didn't talk to your kids at all?
No. But my thing is that he did this. He opened this up. He said,
I
have to tell you this.
You started all this.
I was starting to get upset with all the secrecy. We'd always been a family of straight talkers. When the fuck did you gather that?
When have y'all been a family of straight talkers?
When?
Nobody ever talked to anybody straight.
Not since you were 5 years old and they told you were imagining the flashes of light in your room.
Literally.
Never.
The
only thing they straight talk about is the bar fights.
That's the only thing.
And we don't even know if that's a straight talk. It's so legendary that I feel like it's exaggerated.
It's probably embellished a bit, yeah.
Just a smidge. Yeah. So, not a family of straight talkers then.
Family of straight talkers, straight shooters.
I was starting to get upset with all the secrecy. We'd always been a family of straight talkers. Or that's how we thought of ourselves. I didn't see why this was suddenly changing. So I asked him why he wasn't more alarmed by the flashing lights in my room when the same thing happened to his little sister. Or why he didn't immediately think I was in danger when he found those pictures of me.
Those are both wonderful questions.
The questions.
That I hope we get answers to. But knowing this guy, we probably won't.
Well, here's another follow-up question he has. Why didn't he do anything?
Period. Exactly. Yes. Why didn't you do shit as a father? Why did you not be a parent?
Right.
God damn. You put in zero effort to protect me at all. And then fucking Mom and her fucking 20 minutes a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the fact that his dad has the audacity to be upset. Why would you ask me about this?
Why would you bring it up? Why would you bring me into this world if you had no intention of protecting me or teaching me anything?
I would have been blissfully unaware. He told me he did more than I'll ever know.
Oh,
Than when anybody wanted, including him.
I would like to know, what exactly have you done, my good sir? Please tell me. Because so far it looks like a whole lot of not dick.
I guess we're gonna find out. He told me he did more than I'll ever know. That I was typical of my, quote, video game generation. And to go, okay, boomer. Right. And to go ahead and have another drink. 'Cause it's Thanksgiving. I did, but I wasn't feeling very thankful. After sitting in silence for a while, which is pretty typical for us, actually.
Oh, but straight talkers.
I literally was just gonna say that. It's a bunch of straight talkers that sit in silence most of the time. After sitting in silence for a while, which is pretty typical for us, actually, he said, "Never liked that little rat." I just waited for him to elaborate. Dad talks at his own pace.
Clearly.
Timogene, I mean, he said. I hadn't expected him to say anything about Timmy. He was about as peripheral to what happened as I could imagine. But Dad had a lot to say about him. Why the fuck would you think he's peripheral to the situation?
Literally.
Because the sleep mask was in his motherfucking room.
And you
pretty
got
integral.
a call from him saying, "Oh, I got a new record, come listen to it." He's like, "I didn't call you."
He's pretty integral to the fucking situation.
Also,
I do go
for a guy that you don't fucking like, y'all was really gung-ho to go to his house and listen to music.
Yeah,
And let your sister. And want to stay at his house so much that you let your sister walk home alone.
I don't know what he has to do with anything.
These people.
So weird that he would bring him up. About Timmy. Dad said Timmy wasn't really a bad kid. He was just strange and pale and weak.
Timmy. He wasn't a manly man.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just a weak little bitch.
And also, the B on your shirt stands for little bitch. Daddy, he called me a little bitch? That's because you are a little bitch.
Yeah, he's fine. He's the nerd.
He's just fucking frail and useless. Dad said Timmy wasn't really a bad kid. He was just strange and pale and weak. Most other kids didn't like him. His parents didn't seem to like him. Even the kids who did like him didn't really like him. God damn, dude.
I think in the last part, he did say that Timmy's parents would buy him the records to keep them off his back.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now with that backstory, I'm thinking Timmy's the villain because...
You're not a victim! Not at all!
Now Timmy's the victim.
No, I get that, but you know, like, the worse the backstory, the more it's like, oh, this is his villain arc.
This is this guy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably Timmy's dad fucking being weird.
Probably.
Passing it down to Timmy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because he must have been with the boys, obviously, you know, but something's going on with Timmy's house. The general opinion was that Timmy's parents were always gone, although it was hard to tell whether they were home or not. They kept to themselves. Rumors went around that they were brother and sister. One thing that was certain was that they'd inherited money. Unlike everyone else, they didn't keep any livestock. They just bought everything from the general store for Timmy and disappeared. Dad said today it'd be called neglect.
Because, hold on. You think that they're weird because they don't have livestock, but if they just leaving their boy at home, it's going to draw more attention if this lone boy whose parents are never around is out at 6 a.m. fucking plowing the field and milking the cows.
That would make more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a classic situation that they are focusing on the fully wrong thing, as usual.
That's true.
But yeah,
I gotta remember who we're talking about here.
Right.
I don't remember who we talking about.
Yeah, I could have a guy standing in this corner right here, and I'd be like, the lamp seems kind of off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's these people. Dad said today it would be called, quote, neglect. But people watched out for each other back then. One thing that always struck Dad as peculiar...
Stop.
Yeah.
Nobody liked Timmy. So who was watching out for Timmy?
We always watched out for him. Well, did anybody watch? Yeah, they were watching out for him because that's how they know they didn't like him.
Poor Timmy.
They probably each bullied him when they watched.
I bet it's Timmy Turner. His life was so miserable he ended up getting fairly hot parents.
Yeah, he wished her away so that his life could get better. It was like a give and take.
I wish Ricky had a fish head!
One thing that always struck Dad as peculiar was how when they wanted Timmy to do something other than listen to records, like go play Kick the Can, he'd say he was going to ask his parents.
Not this country. Never.
Have you not?
I've never played Kick the Can, no.
Think about this.
Uh-huh.
You got a dad who is famous like John Wick for bar fights. Okay? You got a thick country accent. Not too many brain cells. Everybody does manual labor here. Kick the Can is definitely on the list of tasks that we do.
Or why don't we just... I mean, okay.
At that, what is that game? The stick wheel thing? Stick hoop?
I don't like people like that. We just fight each other. Like, let's just fight.
Yeah, but you gotta take a break from that to kick other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other objects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I grew up.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I didn't kick the can, but I observed the can being kicked. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. Yeah, don't get too close, you know?
It's that cord. You might get hit.
You might get. Yeah, because then you do get pulled into that. That's happened several times. We're like, oh, can I play? And they're like, well, we're about to fight. Oh, I don't want to play. Yeah, you're in it. Okay. I didn't think I was signing on for that.
That is so sad.
Anyway.
Yeah, back to your people.
Oh,
Back to Kick the Can.
Kick the can. Okay, my people, it's really crazy.
He'll tell me you don't think these your people?
There's some people that I've been acquainted with. Okay?
Mm-hmm. For our black audience out there, okay? If you're wondering, yes, they are.
That is so mean.
I don't know what you need.
You have no clue. Wow. I don't kick cans.
No, you don't.
I've just witnessed it.
Yeah.
Usually they just shot bottles and use slingshots on poor unsuspecting woodland creatures.
Real country shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually just went out and caught salamanders and shit.
With your overalls on with no shirt?
Yeah, they were painted. And I always had the pigtails in.
Of course.
The braided pigtails.
Of course. There's no other acceptable hairstyle to go with that.
I'm just saying I wasn't doing violent shit. I was eating nuts off the forest floor, and I was not eating. I was collecting salamanders in the woods. And the only violent thing I did was take sticks to anthills, but that's because my dad taught me how to do that, and I did it one time before I never did it again.
Peter, would you like a glass of... Oh my God! I told you not to play God with those ants!
I don't know.
Yeah, because he taught me how to poke the anthill with the stick to, mess with them. He didn't tell me the importance of letting go of the stick. He did not stress that at all.
Oh, no. Yeah, so they just came crawling.
And I aim for it.
You just had the stick in your hand.
And I never thought to let it go.
At no point did it occur to you to do.
No, I was shaking them off, but they kept climbing. Wasn't it? Yeah. Nobody ever said I was that smart of a kid. But it's okay. I started screaming loud enough to where he was able to run. So could get to me. See, he wasn't neglectful. He came. He'd say he was going to ask his parents. None of them had seen or heard his parents in the house, so they were surprised. But Timmy would go into this one room, close the door behind him, and they hear him talking to someone in there. He'd come out and tell them he had to stay put. This happened a few times, he said. Not that they invited Timmy Jean out all that much anyway. Another thing he didn't like about Timmy was he'd just do strange things. Sometimes he seemed pretty normal, then he'd just change, just like that. This one time, they were listening to some new record that he had. He turned it off and told them he learned a new song and dance. Dad was not interested, thinking it would be childish. But Flora and Matt really wanted to see. Timmy started walking backwards in a circle, shaking like he was freezing, and making shrieking sounds. It was annoying the hell out of Dad, so he told Timmy to cut it out. But Timmy kept doing it. Dad had never seen Timmy show any emotion other than excitement over his records. When he was doing this dance, he looked downright hateful. Flora started crying, and Matt looked pretty scared too. Dad never had patience for stupidity. He grabbed Timmy by the shoulders. He said he remembered how Timmy felt. His skin was cold and jelly-like, and he could feel his small shoulder bones like they weren't covered at all. He shook Timmy till he stopped and was back to normal. Yeah, jelly-like cold skin, and his small shoulder bones weren't covered at all.
Maybe like slippery.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Sounds gross. Timmy started playing the record again like nothing had happened. Dad said they left because Flora was too upset. It was after that, Dad said, that he went to get Timmy for something. He couldn't remember what, and Timmy wasn't home. That was weird in itself. But Dad went inside to look for him just in case.
Stop going in people's houses again. Now, in the first story, you said that he didn't like going in people's houses when they weren't home.
Privacy and
Because of privacy and all, but he was going to make an exception this one time. No, this is a pattern of behavior. Why are you just walking in this boy's house? If don't nobody answer the door, nobody's home, you don't need to enter anybody's home ever.
yeah.
Yeah, you get shot.
That's why he thinks his dad's a straight shooter. Because he keeps telling him shit, and he's just believing it, but he actually does fully different shit. So he probably just said, "Son, we're a family of straight shooters."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Wow, we're a family of straight shooters.
Right.
Dad, why don't you tell me about this?" I won't.
I don't want to start.
You grab me into
counterizing me.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Key. Yeah. Breaking and entering as normal.
Right.
But Dad went inside to look for him just in case. He couldn't find him. So he decided he'd just ask Timmy's parents where Timmy had gone.
You ain't never seen these people. You ain't never talked to these people. They didn't even let you in their house. But you gonna walk your white ass into his parents' bed.
Yeah. Hey, y'all seen Timmy? Who the fuck are you? Even if there were parents to be, who the
Fuck are you? And why the fuck is you in my house?
He opened the door to the room Timmy always went into. The room was kept really dark. They could never see anything when Timmy slipped in. Now he knew why. It wasn't a bedroom at all. It was just a closet. There was a cushion thrown at the floor, some bread crusts, and pieces of paper. Dad said he'd seen enough. He closed the door and got out. Never went back to Timmy's again. Because when Timmy would go into that room, they wouldn't just hear Timmy talking. They'd hear someone talking to him. I'd already drank more gin than I should have. But that still sent shivers through me. But I thought of something. I asked Dad if this happened after Flora disappeared. He said no.
So you did go back to Timmy's house.
He went back to Timmy's house back to fucking to hang out and said, "Flora, bye. I'm hanging out with this boy." Listen to right.
Never went back to Timmy's ever again. This is ridiculous.
Okay, hang on. So I said, "How was it he was at Timmy's the day that Flora disappeared?" "Your Uncle Matt doesn't always remember things, right?" he said. He gave me a stern stare when he said this, like it was something I should keep in mind to the end of my days. I know Dad's looks very well. Okay, now the uncle is implicated for me. Okay. About Uncle Matt. He said Matt came up to him that day and said they had a call from Timmy to come over and listen to the new record. He'd heard the call come in, and that was nothing strange. But he never went with them to Timmy's. He went to the general store to pick up a present for Betty Coffin, a girl he fancied, and Matt and Flora went to Timmy's by themselves. When he was at the general store, he remembered being surprised to see Timmy in there, just picking up some food with a big wad of bills. He'd never seen that much money in one place in his whole life, so he wasn't likely to forget it. He told Timmy, hello, but Timmy just paid for his food and walked out with his food and his bills. And
Timmy, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right. Yeah.
You're supposed to be at the house.
Well, and he didn't even say hello to,
He didn't.
Yeah, he just ignored him. Sus.
Where are my brother and sister? It's supposed to be with you.
Oh, hey. And Flora never came home from Timmy's that day. And that's all I know about it, he said. I told him Uncle Matt said he was listening to music with him and Timmy when Flora left on her own. Who was he listening to music with then? Wasn't Timmy, was all Dad said. It was so eerily matter-of-fact. I took another shot of gin right there. I hoped it'd stop me from shaking. When I looked at Dad, he was staring down with a sad resignation that I'd never seen in him before. My dad could drink me under the table 10 times over, so after that last shot, he had to put me to bed on his couch. That was the end of our talk. Lying there on the couch, I suddenly remembered something from way back when my family would go down to the beach. We'd all sit around the fire, the adults would drink and tell stories about growing up in that hamlet, and the kids would roast marshmallows and shiver listening to these stories. There were true stories and ghost stories all mixed together. These were the only occasions where I'd ever heard them talk about Flora before. After what my dad said, I remembered a story Uncle Matt told. He said he and Flora would go for these long walks in the woods together. My dad used to go with them, since he was expected to watch them. But once he hit his teenage years, he got more interested in girls than babysitting. They decided to go back into the woods behind Hyman's general store. There are no trails or anything. They just picked a spot and went into the woods. You can go back for miles and miles into just pure woods. It's all National Parkland Day. Normally, they'd walk about 30 minutes or an hour. Dad would have them walk parallel to the edge of the woods. Without Dad, they just kept going deeper. They'd been walking into the woods for well over an hour, or at least he thinks it was. Flora wanted to turn back by this time, but Matt wanted to keep going deeper. She followed him because she was scared to go off alone, but she got upset and said she was going back on her own. He told her, that's fine, and don't get lost. Uncle Matt said she wasn't gone 30 seconds when he felt her tugging on his arm. He got mad because he thought she was bugging him to go with her again, but when he looked, she was pointing at something behind him. He said really seriously that he'd never forget how wide and scared her eyes were. He turned and saw a man standing out in the woods. It scared him too. The man didn't really look scary. He was just a man. But there was no reason for anyone to be so far in the woods. They shouldn't even be there. The man had his back to them, looking deeper into the woods. He wasn't moving at all. They crouched down as quietly as they could to watch him. But he didn't do anything but stand there. Matt said he didn't like it one bit. He felt there was something really wrong about what was going on. He took Flora by the hand, something he never did, and they walked away, making as little a sound as possible. He kept glancing behind his shoulders as they walked. After a few minutes, he was satisfied they were well away from the man. He was long out of sight and probably hearing range. After a few minutes more walking, Matt heard a thudding sound. Flora squeezed his hand tighter, so he knew she heard it too. But they didn't say anything to each other. They were too scared. The thudding kept getting louder. Then he heard this scream at the top of someone's lungs, like he'd been hurt. Matt looked back and saw the man they'd seen earlier running right at them full speed through the woods, screaming the whole time. No words. Matt said he and Flora were so scared they couldn't even run. They'd backed up against a tree and crouched down. Matt thought the man was going to kill them or hurt them, and he didn't know what to do about it. When the man caught up to them, he stopped short, only a few feet away. He took a deep breath and shouted in their faces, "Get out!" They were too scared to move, so the man kept shouting at them, "Get out! Get out!" Finally, Nat tugged at Flora, and they ran back to the way they came. When they were almost out, they heard Dad calling from them somewhere back in the woods. They were about to go running back to Dad so he'd protect them, but then they saw him at the tree line and ran to him. He took them home, and that was that. He said they never told their mom because they figured they were just trespassing. After Uncle Matt finished his story, everyone was quiet for a good long time. The story seemed to bother Dad more than anyone else. I remember being especially upset by it just because it bothered Dad. Then Dad said he remembered that when he first came to get them, he couldn't find them. He figured they'd just gone home, but he couldn't find them at home either. He looked in the general store and down on the fishing wharf, but they weren't there either. So he went back to the woods. Just as he got there, he saw them running out of the woods screaming and crying. He asked them what was going on, thinking they'd just seen a bear or something, and they just kept bawling. So he brought them home and questioned them to get the whole story. He said he never told Uncle Matt at the time, but he saw them coming out of the woods as soon as he got there. He never did call out for them. I don't know why I suddenly remembered that story. It's just another weird thing that happened to my family. Just an hour away from where Dad grew up, and the nearest bigger town, there's a huge sanatorium up on a hill, looks over the whole town. The guy in the woods could be just some guy who got out of there, and they had the misfortune of startling him. Could be completely unrelated to everything else.
I don't think they startled him.
Right.
Nothing about that interaction implies that they startled him at all.
He's startled.
He startled them.
My favorite thing is that sentence that I just read. Could be completely unrelated to everything else.
Could be, yeah.
That's the whole thing of this story.
Right. Yeah,
Probably unrelated.
probably unrelated, yeah. Nothing is related.
Right. So that gave me a lot to think about. I don't feel any more secure or confident after what Dad told me. If anything, I'm more confused and unsettled than ever. The last several days have been a strange ride. But I know there's no way I can let it go now. I'll try to find out more, and I'll continue sharing what I can. It's the end of part 3. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts have not changed.
Alright, going into part 4. I managed to find out more about Timmy. I had to hit up people I haven't spoken to in a long time, or barely know at all. But eventually, I hit a few relatives who knew more than I ever expected to find out. Before I share what I learned about Timmy, though, I've been asked in the comments how I can keep such a level head while I keep uncovering these weird incidents.
Okay? Please answer the question for me, if I need to know.
Well, he's about to. I guess because it's distant.
Is it distant? Were they not the photos of you in the walls?
It's so far.
You not the one seeing the flashes of light?
It's so long ago, though. It's like a distant memory. I don't know. I feel like people say similar shit to me, though. They're like, wow, you're so chill about it. I shake and shiver and feel dread when I'm hearing about or remembering these events. But it's still way back there. Even my dad finding the pictures in that house happened years ago. That's been changing lately. Little things have been happening that have been making me uneasy. For one, my mom has called me twice since Thanksgiving. So at least it's still November. So
That's still out of the ordinary. Mom on the calls twice a month.
I'm thinking
She only needs her 20 minutes out the month.
exactly. So I was thinking like that this was like the next month, and I was like, okay, is it that crazy?
Wait.
Okay, yeah, but she's calling you in the same month. Oh,
Right. Red flags.
Yeah. I know this isn't overtly creepy, but we normally only talked once every 2 weeks.
I told you. For 10 minutes.
I
He gets 20 minutes a month.
I just hoped that maybe he meant bi-weekly the other way, okay? Something in my heart wanted that to be the case for him.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he got 80 minutes a month.
No, ma'am. It's 20 minutes a month.
Okay. But we only normally talk once every 2 weeks. On top of that, she hasn't been herself. She's been trailing off, going silent for long periods. And sometimes it's like there's an echo when she speaks. I started wondering if someone's tapping into our conversations, like with a baby monitor or something. This is sounding very familiar. Timmy. And she's been saying strange things. For instance, after being quiet for a while, she said, "It's lonely down here."
That is not your mama, big dog.
It's not.
That is not your mom. Is she underground? Is your mama mole? No, that's your mama. So why would that statement even make sense?
It's your mama.
Why would that make sense? Where is she that would make sense? To say it's cold down here. Not in Australia.
Maybe she's in the basement.
Why?
Maybe she's like me. Maybe she lives in the basement.
No.
To be clear, I don't live in a basement.
Okay. She's not a basement troll. It's okay.
I'm not. But yeah, she could be a cold-ass basement and hang out. Maybe it's their, like, her she cave or whatever you call that. Not a man cave, but her she shed. Yeah. Exactly. I don't think that's the case.
I'm not. No. That's
I
nice.
feel like I always defend these people, and I, like, give them a whole thing, and I'm like, that's definitely not.
Yeah, you gotta play devil's advocate, but you know in your heart what the truth is.
I do. I asked her what she meant by down here.
Mole lady.
Is that what he said to her? What do you mean by down here, mole lady?
Yeah.
I asked her what she meant by down here, since she didn't live any further south than me. She just said in a tone so flat she could have been reading it, "You should come. It's wonderful down below." She changed the subject right after and seemed normal after that. My first instinct was to worry she was depressed or something. But I don't know. Last thing she said was if I hear anything strange about her, not to believe it.
Bitch, I believe it, babe. You doing strange shit in front of me.
Right now.
Right now. This is a strange room. The fact that you're calling me right now, and we've already had our 20 minutes a month, is strange.
Right.
Everything about this is strange.
Don't believe him. Last night it changed. There was a voice. The voice had a tinny, metallic tone, and that same echo as when Mom called. The combination made the voice sound inhuman and evil. The words weren't sinister at all, but the way they were said made me feel like I was in danger for the first time since I started this investigation. The first time, all he said was, "I'm on my way." I tried to say, "Wrong number," back, but whoever it was had already hung up. I got a call a little later, and the same voice said, "I'll be there soon." This time, he didn't hang up right away, so I said he had the wrong number. A moment after I said this, he hung up. On the third call, he said, "I can see your house now," and again, hung up immediately. I kept waiting for another call any minute, but after a few hours, I relaxed. I figured it really was the wrong number, and they figured it out. I mean, given the last 2 weeks, I have every reason to be just a little jumpy. I get about halfway through an episode of Gotham on DVR before the phone rang again. I don't say anything immediately. Neither does he. After a minute or so, he says, "I'm right outside." As soon as he said that, I heard a noise at the front door. I don't know if I've ever been so scared before. I don't have any firearms, but I do have a machete. So I grabbed it and went to the front door. I opened it, ready for that hateful face from the building site, or worse. But my dad was there, actually. He asked what the machete was for, and I asked him what brought him to my house so late. It's a long enough drive, and Dad rarely visits anyway. He got pretty irritated about that. He opened his flip phone, and showed me a text, apparently from me. In the text, I asked him to come out immediately. It's an emergency. I told Dad I did not send him that text. I didn't send him any text. I've never lied to Dad before, and that carries weight. He believed me. To be honest, though, I was glad he was there at just that moment. We had a drink together, and then he said he was going to get back home. I asked him a few questions about Timmy before he left. He didn't much want to talk about it, but I'll add what he told me into the account of what I learned. So, you get a call, somebody's right outside of your house, they've been calling you incessantly, being creepy as fuck. Your dad comes to your home because he gets a text from you, you say, that's not me. We don't mention that at all. Dad doesn't think that's weird. Oh, who the fuck is texting me? He's like, oh, wasn't you? Okay, great.
Yeah. Chill. Normal. Right.
And then somebody comes to your house. I mean, I know I assume a lot.
You do a lot of figuring.
I do a lot of figuring. But with these two phone situations, I would be figuring something. And I'd tell my daddy about it. Yeah, anyways, we just talked about
him. You definitely asked him what the machete was for. And,
oh, what are you doing here?
What's the machete for?
What's up?
You called me over here to murder me?
Maybe.
I'd punch this guy in the face.
Punch them both.
I want to punch them all in the face.
Yeah.
My dad, Ryder, Matt.
Not Ryder.
All of them.
I like Ryder. I think he's an asshole. After Flora disappeared, Dad and Matt were expressly forbidden to have anything to do with Timmy. For Dad, that suited him just fine. Dad, nevertheless, told his mom that Timmy couldn't have been responsible since he'd just seen him at Hyman's general store. His mom said there had always been something wrong with that boy, and she felt if Flora hadn't gone to his home that day, she'd still be alive.
True.
While Dad and Matt hoped she was still alive, their mom never really believed she was. She said she saw a dove fly into the house that day after Flora disappeared, but when she chased after it, she couldn't find it anywhere. Dad said it was just grief, and these kinds of supernatural beliefs were common then. I tend to agree. Tim made no efforts to reach out to Dad or Matt either. He started keeping to himself after Flora disappeared. They'd sometimes see him by himself at Hyman's, buying lots of food, way more than one boy should require. They never talked. Suspicions about Timmy and concerns about his missing parents grew. The police had looked around Timmy's house a little since it's where Flora was last seen, and found nothing. But now they were asked to search the house. They wouldn't say what was wrong or what they found in there. The rumor was Timmy's parents hadn't been there in a long time, and that the police had come out of the house, pale and upset. Small towns always have rumors, hard to say if they're true or false. Timmy was placed with some distant relatives in the larger town an hour away. They said he was strange and they didn't like him.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. He was always up and walking around at night. Sometimes he'd stop over the vents in the floor and just stare into them. After he'd been there for a bit, they started to hear him talking to himself in the middle of the night. They'd come up to him to see what he was doing, and there was no one else around. They started watching him. They noticed he only did this when he was standing over the air vents. They even found him crouching down over it once. This girl, a third cousin of his, said it creeped her out, because she knows she heard someone answering him one time. Those vents couldn't have been more than 1.5 feet wide, she said, but she heard a man's voice coming up with the air. She couldn't make out what was being said, but she heard laughter that made her run and hide under her covers. She said she thinks this part may have been a dream, but she always swore she saw a finger poking up from the vent too. Right. Fuck. No. Oh my god.
Who's the vent man? Please.
Hey, go somewhere.
Get out of the vents. In the sewer system.
Fucking hobby, dude.
Please. Other than
Different hobby.
people.
Different hobby.
Literally.
She told her parents, but they said to stop making up stories, and he'd been through a lot.
Oh.
I'm so sick of these fucking parents, dude. These kids are being traumatized.
It's all of them. And nobody cares.
Nobody gives a...
This is what you call neglect.
This is what you call neglect. Her sister said sometimes Timmy would walk out of the woods and just stand there, staring into them. They asked him why he did that. He said he was waiting to be taken. He went farther into the woods when she tried to talk to him more. One time, the same girl said she heard him talking into the air vents like usual. She was tired, and it was upsetting her, so she went to get her parents and have him sent to bed. On her way, she noticed Timmy was still sound asleep in his room. The talking had to be coming up from the vent all on its own. They said Timmy would sometimes steal food from the house and take it out into the woods. When he was caught, he said he had a tree house, but they never saw it if it existed. They sometimes wake up and find him staring at them in the middle of the night. They had to start locking their doors.
You gotta go.
Right, I'm out.
You gotta go.
You're talking to the fucking vents. You're taking our shit out to the woods.
Right.
And now you're staring at me as I sleep?
Oh, hell no.
I'm calling a demonologist.
I'm afraid for my safety.
Shoot it. Burn it.
Hit him with your car!
Get him in therapy. I know at the time they didn't do therapy, but please do something for him. They would whine to their parents to send him away all the time. But they were careful not to do it when Timmy was around because, despite everything, they didn't want to be mean. One time, he asked them why they wanted him sent away. They couldn't figure out how he'd heard. He was living with them for nearly 6 months when something happened that changed him. They didn't know what it was, but he stopped all of the weird behavior all at once. He wouldn't talk to anyone. He hardly ate. Then one day, he just ran away. He's been a missing person ever since. His parents never turned up to look for him. There was no evidence either way, so the case went nowhere.
Because whoever that man is in the vents has his parents too, probably.
I bet they found a neglected fucking boy.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening with his situation, but I feel like the parents were deadbeats all along. Like, you know how you had the stories, yeah, it was here all along. His parents were deadbeats all along.
All along.
They also said years later, when his house burned down, pictures of the fire appeared in the local newspaper. People talked about it for weeks because in the picture, the smoke looked just like the devil, horns and everything. They tried to find the newspaper in their closets, but neither of them could find it. I include that part not because I believe in a horned devil that manifests itself in smoke patterns. I think it's interesting that his cousins thought he was so creepy the devil would be in the smoke particles coming off of his burning house. Yeah, I don't know why that would surprise you. No one liked him.
Focused on the wrong thing.
As always.
As always.
Stop it. Get some help.
That's what I know about Timmy. He hasn't been seen or heard from since, from all that I can find out. Same from his parents. Where his home was is just a lush field of rhododendrons. One last thing. After Dad left last night, I noticed my mailbox lid was up. I knew I'd closed it earlier when I checked the mail, so I looked inside. I found an envelope with a Polaroid photo inside. An old one, too. It was of me, Mom, and Dad all at the park together. This park is actually the same place where Dad grew up. The houses are mostly gone. Hyman's General Store is still there as a museum. I had to be only 4 or 5 in this picture. I don't even remember Mom going to the park with us. I wondered if Dad found it and stuck it in my mailbox. But Dad wouldn't bother to bring it to me if he'd found it. He wouldn't see the value in it. I kept looking at it, wondering what it was doing there. It took me a surprisingly long time to see it. In the background, in the thick Johnson grass, there was a man crouched down, watching us. He was barely visible. I couldn't discern his face or any expression in his eyes. I just had a vague but real feeling that he meant to do us harm. I don't want to be too alarmist. The, quote, strange things happening to me may all have innocent explanations and I'm just jumpy. And I still want to get to the bottom of things. My investigations hit a bit of a dead end, but I'll keep you posted.
You don't want to be an alarmist?
You shouldn't read into things.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
He is the exact opposite of an alarmist and a straight shooter. I think he's trying to be a straight shooter. He's doing his...
No, because you stood into that what he had with the fucking machete, and he didn't tell him about the 4 fucking phone calls. He also didn't tell anybody about the weird phone calls with his mom and why mom is all of a sudden wanting to talk to him for more than 20 minutes a month when it was the last time she did that. And they've annoyed me enough for one night. And Timmy, I think this has been going on for such a long time. And all of these people have gone missing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This can't be the same guy this whole time.
I think so. Maybe it's supernatural, but I'm thinking it's like a creep.
One,
I think he's old as dirt.
Old as dirt, and somehow has made other people's lives your whole life. And 2, is somehow so involved in the infrastructure of this town that you can just do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, as you get older, he can't still be nabbing people.
Right.
Like at a certain age, like I get, right? You gonna crime till you can't crime no more. But at a certain age, we get a little old for crime, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even 30 yet and my knees already cracked. Like, so I don't believe this man is 67 trying to murder these people.
Well, let me see. I'm going back to part 1 because I thought he said that this was an old guy, but
even in the first or the second part, whatever video we did last, the dad said that when he heard Flora talking into the drain, that the voice also sounded like a grown man.
oh yeah, definitely a grown man. I was thinking like maybe he was like 25 at that time and now he's like 65, you know? But I don't know why I thought this was an old guy because it said, suddenly I noticed a guy walking toward me from the general direction of the site. Didn't remember seeing this guy. Okay, here it is. He was an oldish guy. His head was shaved, and he was wearing a Ramones t-shirt. I think this guy started at like 30.
You not getting up there? Like, damn, you don't get tired? Fucking retire, dude. Calm down. How many people do you need?
Right.
You have a boy and a girl. What more do you want?
All of the children.
Use thy voice, Sarah! Fill the sky! Bring the little brats to die!
No.
Well, now he wants this guy who's like a full-ass man.
Right. So it's not making sense.
Maybe he's the one that got away because they moved. Remember?
Let him get away.
You don't want him to get away. That's the whole point.
Why? Why?
Oh, we can't speak to that. Why? We'll never know that part. I just have so many whys. I know. We got parts 5, 6, and 7 left. So we'll get to those once we recoup from the aliens.
Yeah.
If you like this episode, make sure you like, subscribe. You can see us on all podcast platforms. Go ahead and comment. If you would want to be non-alarmist like this guy, okay, would you be alarmed?
Right.
Perhaps?
At any point. For part 1, if you went back and watched part 1 and part 2 to now, at what point would you be alarmed?
Right.
Yeah.
Or second guessing yourself.
At all. Even a tiny bit.
Yeah, I have no words. So yeah, I guess that is it for us. Until the next time, we'll see you.
Bye.